Hello, CS112. Today I'll be going over a quick solution to Lab 2, which has to do with branching, so like the if-else conditionals. So it was a pretty straightforward problem. You had to ask for 4 inputs, and then based on those 4 inputs, calculate the updated MSRP of that car. So I've already typed out here the inputs because I'm sure by now you guys are going to be masters of it, and I don't want you guys to sit through me typing it. But then I've also created another variable here that sets a total equal to the MSRP because I don't really want to change my MSRP variable as we progress on. So I'm just going to talk about what to actually do as we progress through these tasks here of how to update the actual price of the car now. So one important thing to keep in mind is what should we use for our branching? What type of thing? Should we use if? Should we use elif? Should we use else? Well, just by reading these tasks here, we should be able to determine that we should just be using 4 if statements because these are completely independent from each other. You could have all of them, you could have one or the other, you could have none of them, etc. Well, you actually can't have none of them because of B and C, but you get my point. If we were to make this an if, elif, elif, else, then if this is true, then none of these others would execute. It would immediately just skip over those because elif means else if, so on and so forth. So in order for B and C to be read, this would have to be false, and these would have to be true. But that's why we just need to use if, just because all of them could be true for, well, technically not, because again, B and C, but we could have multiple trues here. So I'm going to start with condition A. So what is condition A, you might ask? Well, so if we're given our car that is 3 years or older, we need to depreciate the price by $500 per year. So in order to do that, I'm going to have a conditional here, and it does specify here saying to use 2022 as your most recent year. So I'm going to say 2022 minus, manufacture year. And I'm going to check if that is greater than or equal to 3, because if it's greater than or equal to 3, that's when we start depreciating the price. And the reason I'm wrapping this in quotations here is just to be safe. I always just, even if it's just one operation happening, I always make sure to just put it in parentheses to be safe, and it's also easier to read. This is where the math begins. So I'm going to say total minus equals, and then let's see here. So our amplifier is going to be by 500 a year. So I'm going to take that 500 and multiply it by the work of, it's essentially just going to be what I have right here. So I'm just going to copy and paste it. So what this is going to do, let's say if you have a car from 2000s, it's going to take 2022 minus it by 2000. So it's going to result in 22. And then since it's 22 years old, you're going to multiply that by 500 and subtract it from the total. Now keep in mind that this statement here, this whole minus equals thing, it is equivalent to me saying total equals total minus that. This is valid in Python. This will take what's on the right and assign it to the left. So this will take what total currently is, which is MSRP, subtract it by the math over here, and set that equal to total. This is completely valid. This won't mess up any of the values. It will work as intended. But I just like doing the minus equals myself. So now we're moving on to condition B, which let's see what that is. So B and C kind of go hand in hand. You can use an if elif here, but there's really no need to. You can just simply keep using ifs, and I'm just going to continue using ifs as well. So now we need to check condition B is if a car has been driven 50,000 miles or more. This is inclusive because it says or more. The price depreciates by $100 per 1,000 miles. So the first thing we're going to do is check if the miles driven is greater than 50,000. We are going to then do similar math to what we did above. So we're going to say total minus equals, and then we are going to first have our amplifier, which is, it says, what is that, $100. So we're going to multiply that by whatever math goes in here. And in order to find out how much math goes in here, we need to, we're going to need to divide the miles driven by 1,000 because it's $100 per $100 per 1,000 miles. So if we divide those two, we will get how many thousands of miles are in there, and multiply that by 100 and subtracts that from the total. Now condition C is going to be fairly exactly the same. So I'm just going to be checking. Oh, I actually made a little mistake here. I'm sure you guys were screaming at me from wherever you're watching this, but this should be greater than or equal to. But this is just if miles driven is less than 50,000. That is 50,000, right? Yeah. So now we are going to go down here and pretty much have the same thing, say total minus equals, sorry about that, except this time, and wait, this time, $8,000 less. Okay, so this one's $50 or less, or $50 is our amplifier, and then we're going to multiply that by miles driven divided by 1,000 because it's also $50 per 1,000 miles. Okay, so now we're going to move on to the last condition. Condition, if I can spell today. Condition D. So what that says is for every accident, you want to deduct 10% from the original MSRP. What this means, the original MSRP, is that if we have the original MSRP and there are a couple accidents on it, it won't take that MSRP, deduct it by 10%, then take that new 10% deducted MSRP, take 10% from that, and so on and so forth. It will just evenly stack. So if there are three accidents, this can be seen as 30% of the original MSRP. So again, we're going to check if num accidents is greater than 0. So if it has any accidents at all, we are going to enter this conditional. Say total minus equals, and again, it's going to be very similar to the structure up here where we are going to have in our parentheses first our amplifier, which is num accidents because it's going to be per the accidents time. Oh, just happened there. Okay, so it happened again. Okay, times, and then inside here is where we're going to want to determine what 10% of the original MSRP is, which is just 0.1 times MSRP. Now, something that I've been seeing on Piazza a lot is some of you guys trying to do like multiply num accidents by something in parentheses like this. And while this is valid in math, you know, just slapping it right next to parentheses, it is not valid in Python. You need to be very specific in what you want to do. So now we need to display current value of the vehicle, which is going to be value of vehicle. And then let's see how it's displayed here. Okay, so it has the number sign right next to that, so I'm going to put the number sign in there, I'm going to put a comma, and then I'm going to convert str to, or sorry, my total to a string so we can concatenate and have no space between the number sign and the number there. So now that we've done that, let's go ahead and test our code out. To do that, you know, I'm going to type in Python cat.py, and we're going to test all three of these because why not? So first we type in the MSRP, which is $25,000. Then the manufacturer year, miles driven, which is 95,000, and the number of accidents, which is 0, which returns 10,000. And there is a space here because I made a very silly error there. Okay, so now that should remove the space. I'm just going to continue with the next one because it will be the same in the formatting. So next one has pretty much the same thing, except it has accidents. So that's 25,000. That is 95,000 miles. Sorry, 2011, and 95,000 miles driven. And then this one has 2 accidents. And as you can see, okay, the space is still there because I did not save my file. It's a rookie mistake. My apologies. But now, when we test this last one, I promise you guys that there will be no space between here. Okay, so now let's hope this works this time. So 45,000 is the MSRP. It's quite the expensive car. 2021, 500 and 0 accidents, and that will give us 44975. And as you can see, just as promised, the space is now gone. So a lot of you guys had questions about why this is 44975, because under nowhere in the description did it say to subtract 25 from it. Well, according to integer division, we will be getting that because it triggers this condition C if we were to go through this. So it's not going to trigger condition 1. It's not going to trigger condition B because it has not been driven that far. And it's not going to be trigger condition D either because there are 0 accidents. It's only going to go into here, and this is where the magic happens. So what is this saying in here? Well, it's going to say total is going to be minus equal to essentially 50 times what's miles driven, in this case is 500, divided by 1,000. And what is this? That is 1/2, or 0.5. So we're going to get 50 times 0.5, which is equal to 25. So that's how we get the minus 25 in our code. So if you have any questions on conditionals, do let us know, because this is your next programming assignment. So if you have no further questions, that is it.